The really big thing coming up on the horizon is full support for fully custom routes. So any route, anywhere, anytime, just upload a GPX file and you can go ride it.
We're trying to help people go speed economy, right? How do you work in a pace line? How much power should you be putting out when you're up front? How do you So even though we're virtually doing it, you're still feeling the draft. You're understanding what it's like to go around the corner, right? And we're coaching it, but having a structured workout that works you from the back of the pit as you move a little more forward, getting a little, then what power should you put on the front? Now you come off and go back around. We walk through that with the structured workout, but it's synced with our live coaching. Our coaches are in there saying, here's why. It's because, most people go to the front, they over put out power. They don't understand regulating by the effort versus, just drilling it. So we can coach that.
You're listening to Endurance Unlimited, a Training Peaks podcast for athletes and coaches, no matter what you're training for. Dial in those workouts with deep insights and cutting-edge science from the most prominent voices in the endurance and hybrid sports world. In this Endurance Unlimited episode, we discuss the evolution of virtual training. I had two guests on the episode, Dr. George Gilbert and Coach Tim Cusick. George is the VP of Virtual Platforms at Training Peaks and the original developer of TrainingPeaks Virtual. We talk about features you may not know about and a few big ones yet to be released. Tim is the founder of Basecamp Coaching, which he started in 2013. Basecamp is driven by Tim's philosophy of bringing together the science of data and the art of coaching. He is also the product lead for Training Peaks WKO. We talk about the evolution of indoor training and how Basecamp leverages Training Peaks Virtual to provide comprehensive, individualized winter training that also creates a sense of community. I hope you enjoy the show and get some great ideas on how to make the most of your winter training. All right, Dr. George Gilbert, thanks for joining me today on the pod.
Oh, it's lovely to be here again.
Not a whole lot of people realize, but you have a PhD in astrophysics from Cambridge, as well as a master's of science of quantum mechanics from Cambridge. How well does that help you develop, this virtual cycling world where people are going, 30 kilometers an hour, not light years?
Yeah, I studied the very, very big and the very, very small. I never could cope with reality. Astrophysics and quantum mechanics, that's my thing.
Let's go virtual.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, it's a very IT and maths heavy training, but lots and lots of transferable skills into industry and into computing in particular. That kind of computational fluid dynamics, the ability to model star systems and how they flow amongst each other is very similar to the maths required to calculate drafting physics, for example, between a bike, between different riders.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I mean, I can't imagine what's going on in your head, like bringing like the universe down into like this little world that we now call Georgetown. We'll get to that. But yeah, what drives your innovation? I mean, you're always innovating. You're VP of virtual platforms at Training Peaks. I'm sure the product in your head is 15 years out from what it is today. So what is that vision building in your head in terms of like what drives that innovation?
It's about the emotional position, really. That's what really matters. It's the prioritization of quality over quantity. It's this desire not to be the biggest, but to be the best. In a nutshell, that's what's kind of driving me and what makes Training Peaks Virtual unique and why it's attracted so much attention across the entire industry. If I had to sum it up, it'd be just one word. It's credibility. I wanted a product that is built for committed athletes, for coaches, for event organizers, and there wasn't one. It's very clear that if I wanted that, then I would have to go and build it. So the idea of a virtual cycling platform that emulates real cycling tactics, real cycling physiology, along with everything that you'd expect, community rides, structured workouts, credible racing, all that kind of stuff. and then seamlessly integrating that in with TrainingPeaks. That driving motivation is seeing that this thing that I want isn't there, and so, well, let's go build it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, let's start from the ground floor. For those that aren't really aware of TrainingPeaks Virtual yet, how does it sit alongside TrainingPeaks? I mean, does information flow back and forth? Give us some of the details of how they play together.
Yeah, the short version is that it's completely seamlessly integrated, and they share the same data. So things like if you update your name or FTP or weight or any of your kind of metrics within TrainingPeaks, then they automatically get synced over to TrainingPeaks Virtual, which means that all your workouts are also automatically synchronized. And as I say, any kind of change in one is reflected in the other because they're basically the same product. So it means that your training experience just works. You don't have to worry about, if I change my FTP over here, then I've got to also change it over there. Otherwise, my workouts won't give me the training benefit that I was looking for. It just works.
Indoor, outdoor, you can choose what you do today, and it all counts.
Exactly. Yeah. It's all part of one big kind of seamless integrated training package.
Yeah. And, you've always had this, I guess, amazing process of releasing on Mondays, or at least releasing notes on Mondays. And that kind of continues even, as you've transitioned it into TrainingPeaks. We've released a whole lot after, over the last few months. So why don't you tick off some of the stuff that you've been releasing over the last couple months for us?
Oh, wow. There's so much. So probably headlining it is kind of really significantly improved graphics. Both the look and feel, the UI is completely different. But while you're riding through the virtual world, there are now farms and villages and lighthouses and bridges and animals, cows and birds and horses and chickens, orcas even. But also there's new roads, new routes. There are 7 new criterium courses for really challenging racing that replicate that kind of physiology of real life events. We've partnered with big names in the cycling industry. So there are lots of new bike frames to choose from Giant and Specialized and Scott and so on. There are time trial bikes now. We've got a hub app, so a companion app that you run on your mobile phone while using TrainingPeaks Virtual, that makes chatting and controlling your ride much easier than having to lean out and reach for a laptop or a keyboard. What else is there?
Well, also in Hub, you have the whole calendar. You can find upcoming races and register for them from the Hub itself, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That Hub app is evolving really rapidly at the moment. So by the time this podcast goes out, there'll be a whole bunch of new features added to it. But yeah, there's integrated calendar. There's all the kind of action buttons you'd expect to be able to control your ride. The ability to do U-turns and take screenshots and change the camera angle and change routes on the fly, or change workouts, or whatever else you would normally do with a keyboard or mouse or touch screen. You can now just do on your mobile while you're riding along. So it's much, much more convenient to use TrainingPeaks Virtual.
You also have great new modes of training. I mean, there's this thing called Zen mode now.
Yes, yeah. So what we found is that people like to train in different ways. It's not a one size fits all. So some people like to be in a busy virtual world with thousands of other riders, and that's great. And we've always catered for that. But other people just prefer to, just have the peace and tranquility of training and riding by yourself. So we created this Zen mode, where it's just you. You have the entire world to yourself, and you can just ride around and not see a single other person. And yep, if that's your thing, then we cater for you there. But also, we've gone another step in even further in that direction with focus mode. And focus mode just blanks everything out. So literally all you've got is your numbers and a nice graph of your workout, and you can just crack on without any distractions whatsoever. So it's that ability to tailor your workout to how you like to train. This product is for you. It's not for us. It's for athletes. It's for coaches. And so people should be able to tailor their experience to what they, how they prefer to train. And now you can.
Yeah, we definitely had a lot of requests for that. And I think it's great to see how you're reacting to customer feedback. There's also cruise control.
Yes. So cruise control is very much like a car, but instead of maintaining speed, it maintains power. So you can think of it like erg mode, but for free riding. So you can just set it. You're off in the virtual world, out exploring, and you can set it to be 200 watts, and you'll ride along at 200 watts. And just by kind of, you can adjust it on the fly. So if you want to do a little bit harder, just kind of click it up a notch, or you can click it down a notch, and you can just kind of tailor your riding. Allows you to do things like a structured warm-up or a structured cool-down after an event. Effectively, you're able to dynamically create a workout because you're setting what pace you want to ride at, what power you want to ride at, and the trainer will just automatically adjust to give you that level of workout that you want.
Yeah, I definitely leverage that myself when I get in there, and let's say it's, zone 2. You can't talk about training these days without talking about zone 2, right? So I'm in my zone. I know this is it. I'm going to hit it, cruise control, whatever watts that might be, right? 210 watts. And I'm going to sit there, and that's great. But related to that, you also have heart rate based workouts that will control power.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a great new innovation as well. So people are kind of used to the TrainingPeaks Virtual being able to provide power-based workouts where you can do some percentage of your FTP. But now you can also do heart rate-based workouts, which I know a lot of coaches prefer prescribing. So you can have a heart rate-based workout, which might say, right, keep your heart rate within a range of 140 to 150 or something. And your smart trainer will just automatically adjust the resistance to keep your heart rate in that zone. So you can just ride along, and if your heart rate starts to rise, the trainer will spot that, start reducing the power a little bit to bring your heart rate back down to sit in that zone. So you're able to complete your prescribed workout with a much higher degree of accuracy than if you were just kind of constantly having to think about manually adjusting it, because it's just all automatically works.
That's awesome. We also have released, what are we calling it? Free Tuesdays? What is this?
So Free for All Tuesdays. So the first Tuesday of every month, TrainingPeaks Virtual is completely free to use for everyone. We're evolving so rapidly now. We want to be able to share with that wider community and have everybody experience the benefits of training. The real difference that high quality software makes to your training. So we decided let's open it up every month for first Tuesday. Come and try it. See what innovations we've done over the last few weeks.
We've done 2 of them already.
Yeah, and they're proving to be remarkably popular. So it's really good to see.
Well, you got to get in there and see Georgetown. So
Yes.
everybody, we've released this new, I don't know, city, town, kind of countryside venue, if you will, called Georgetown. What's unique about it is really it's more of a crit style course, 90-degree turns, a lot of fast racing going on there, points races, etc. So tell us why'd you come up with Georgetown and what's the essence of Georgetown?
Yeah, so most of the rest of the virtual island has nice, smooth, sweeping curves, which are very scenic and great for kind of maintaining a high speed throughout. But within Georgetown, we decided to make a crit area. You talked before about listening to feedback. One of the really strong bits of feedback that we had about the routes available in TrainingPeaks Virtual was the need to have a dedicated crit course. So not wanting to do things by halves, we came up with 7. Georgetown is this kind of rural farm area with lots of crisscrossing roads, lots of 90-degree bends, lots of sharp corners, and that interplays really well with the new physics that we've been developing around cornering.
Yeah, cornering has kind of always been there. As you said, you've released new physics around it, but you didn't get, you couldn't really take advantage of it so much in the mountainous terrain because the swooping kind of turns. But now in Georgetown, you can really take advantage of that. It's not really taking advantage. It's just like replicating the real world. Like everybody understands it. It's just now you can actually experience it indoors. So tell us about cornering physics and the race line and how can you take advantage of these new features?
Yeah, one of the advantages of TrainingPeaks Virtual is the fact that it's based on real physics. And as a result of that, as you get to a sharp corner, then it will automatically take the right racing line around that corner. So if you're coming up to a big bend, then your avatar will now sweep out to the outside, cut in off the apex, and then drift on out back out to the outside of the curve. And that kind of visual representation is also backed up by the physics and the feel of it. So as you come into a curve, you have to back off. If you try pedaling around the corner, you'll actually go slower. What you need to do is, as you come into the corner, back off your pedaling, back off the power, let it drift around the corner, and then put the power back on again, and you'll go much, much faster around the corner. So in a real racing scenario, you're almost kind of training to replicate the same physiological responses in your legs as you would in a real outdoor crit. You're kind of having to slow down, stop, and then massively re-accelerate again as you come out of the corner. And one of the things that I've really enjoyed seeing is the feedback from people who try this. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were talking about how it just totally feels like doing an outdoor crit, but you're doing it indoors. And the purpose of this, as I said before, isn't about just kind of replicating it one-to-one. It's about preparing you for the reality of what cycling is like outdoors. Most people who are training indoors are doing so because they also ride outdoors. And just doing a spin class or something, well, that will help your cardiovascular fitness. But replicating the physiological demands of backing off and then having to re-accelerate, you know as well as most people, it's the brutalizing of your legs, which makes cycling into the sport that it is. And so being able to replicate the training load of re-accelerating out of the corners and being able to get the training benefit of re-accelerating out of the corners is a key part of why we've done this. It's all about helping you become a better overall cyclist by giving you that same physiological training that you need.
Yeah. And, that leads into tactics. I mean, if once you understand that and can see it at play, you're like, wait, these other people I'm with don't realize it. And I'm undercutting them on the corners. And I have a 2-second gap coming out of the turn. When are they going to figure this out, right? Or if they do figure it out, let's say, okay, awesome. The three of us understand the physics now, and we're actually working with each other. And we're coming to the turn, and three of us are going to coast through. We're going to come out, take the best line. We're going to accelerate out. And the people behind me now have a draft. And I pull off, and they come through just like in a real world pace line. And if there's a group 20 seconds up the road and they don't really understand those dynamics, you can easily catch them, and move through them. So that's what's really cool. You take this and you understand it, and then you apply it into your tactics. But then it becomes more and more difficult because you mentally get drained. You have to be thinking.
Yeah, and it's just like riding a bike. In fact, as you say, it's about being physically prepared as well as being mentally prepared, and we've seen that in some of the events that have been held on these new crit courses in TrainingPeaks Virtual. That exactly as you say, the people who just kind of treat it as if it's a long straight road and keep pedaling through the corners, they get dropped. Whereas
and they get lapped quickly.
Exactly. but the people who understand what actual cycling is all about and back off and then re-accelerate, they move on, and they're the people who are winning these races. Both on virtual, but they're also gaining the training benefit and winning races out in the real world as well.
Yeah, and a large part of road racing comes down to anaerobic capability. We call it functional reserve capacity, or W prime, and it's just amount of energy you have above your threshold. And so that's where it really comes into play. How long can you last in a crit jumping out of every corner, eight corners every lap. So yeah, definitely go check that out, and really fun stuff. You also have stuff you haven't released yet.
Yeah, there's lots.
So why don't you pull back the curtain on some new stuff coming out?
Yeah, there's
for
lots
us.
of really exciting stuff coming up soon. Not only are we continuing on the path of continuing to improve the graphics, more areas to ride, more bike frames, and so on. The really big thing coming up on the horizon is full support for fully custom routes. So any route, anywhere, anytime, just upload a GPX file and you can go ride it.
And then you can invite people to ride that with you.
Yeah, definitely. So just like any other event within TrainingPeaks Virtual, you can create an event, invite anybody else to come ride with you, or just open it up to the public, and yeah, you can go ride it. So what's interesting here is again why we're doing this, and if you look at it from an athlete's perspective, the goal is around helping athletes prepare for events so they can perform their best. And if you're preparing for some outdoor event, then clearly there's a really high cost and logistical complexity of traveling to an actual course to practice it. And more generally, other kind of computer software is disconnected from the specific demands of an event. We were talking before about spin class. Cycling isn't a spin class. It's brutal on your legs. And the solution that we've come up with to kind of solve this problem for athletes is that they can now just simply upload a GPX file of their chosen course and go ride it. TrainingPeaks Virtual will just fully auto-generate all of the roads, all of the landscape, the trees, the plants, the grass, rivers, lakes, fences, whatever. It exactly replicates the course in seconds, and you can just go ride it. It's just incredibly simple, incredibly easy, and just works. And there are obvious benefits to this. Course reconnaissance. As an athlete, you can understand and feel the character of every climb, every turn. You're transforming an unknown course into a known one. There's also pacing strategy development, for example. So you can test, refine, validate your own racing strategies. How are you going to negative split this effort? Where to push, where to recover. But also the kind of the psychological part of it that you were talking about before, the confidence and motivation, tackling the challenging parts of a course in a nice, safe virtual environment builds that kind of psychological resilience. It reduces race day anxiety. It fosters that kind of positive, performance-oriented mindset. Ultimately, training becomes more purposeful. It's more engaging and, bluntly, more effective.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you talked about tactics. Once you can replicate, do a recon of your actual course or segments of it. If you're preparing for Leadville 100 mountain bike race, you may not do the entire 9 hours indoors, right? But you could replicate Columbine or whatever the different climbs or descents may be. But then you start thinking about layering in nutrition. This is the descent. This is a 2-minute descent where I can really kind of get on top of my nutrition here. And then I think about coaches. Not every athlete may get into uploading their GPX and understand all this stuff, but a coach could go in there and upload the GPX on behalf of their athletes. They might have a training group, and they can invite that group to that Wednesday ride at 3:30 p.m. where we're going to recon this course. So the coach can facilitate a lot of this and introduce it to the athlete. And then the coach can summarize what happened during that training and, help educate the athlete in terms of like how to perform better on that course, et cetera. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for coaches to take advantage of this feature as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Again, if you look at it in terms of the goal of a coach, that a coach wants to help provide the maximum value to their athletes and grow their own business as well. It's that kind of complete package. But it's really tricky to accurately assess an athlete's readiness for a specific course. It's difficult to prescribe training that's truly race specific. And it's a competitive market for coaches. There's constant pressure to differentiate your services, demonstrate unique value to attract and retain clients. But with TrainingPeaks Virtual and GPX routes, you can move beyond generic FTP-based intervals. You can have hyper-personalized race planning, race simulations on an actual course, but without the time and effort and cost of actually having to go to the race location. And couple that with the advanced diagnostics that TrainingPeaks and TrainingPeaks Virtual provides, that gives you invaluable information on how the athletes are performing on the actual course. How do they handle that last climb? How do they handle that last descent before the finish? Where are they recovering? How do they need to adjust their pacing in order to get to maximize their performance on the course? And with TrainingPeaks Virtual's actual, the accurate real world physics, it gives a specificity of training that's completely unmatched anywhere else.
Yeah. Well, you can compare, triathlon versus, road gravel cycling. I mean, no draft, legal triathlons. Okay. You're not going to have a lot of group dynamics. You are supposed to be doing a time trial. So how do you pace this as a time trial? But the very same course ridden as a road race, completely different tactics, and every single time you ride that might be a different tactic based upon who you're with. So, depending on who your competitors are, you might have, you got to learn all these different tactics, right? And you don't want to waste all your energy going into the next 6-minute climb. You want to kind of go into that with some reserve. So lots of great education that can happen around, these custom routes that people will be creating and will be super fun to check out.
Yeah, definitely, and we've also replicated that kind of different road surfaces as well. So within TrainingPeaks Virtual, you can now kind of create events that are gravel based or tarmac road based, but also cobbles. If you want to go climb the Koppenberg, go knock yourself out, and but we've integrated the Tax Neo road feel as well. That's now fully supported. So. Wow. You'll feel every bump and lump over those Belgian cobbles.
Oh my Lord. That's going to open up a whole lot more. I mean, I think about gravel racing and, the mountain biking, et cetera. So that's going to be really, really fun stuff. Well, George, that is a whole lot of stuff that you've been releasing. And like I said, like the product is probably 15 years out in your head. So there's a whole lot more coming out, besides GPX files. So I can't wait to see what else is coming out. So thanks for joining me on the podcast today.
No, it's been great to be here. The bottom line is that if you use TrainingPeaks Virtual and you're riding actual routes for your upcoming events, it's just more motivating. It's more physiologically tailored than executing generic abstract workouts, and your performance will improve as a result. If you want to become a better, faster athlete, use TrainingPeaks Virtual.
Yeah, and it's all included with premium, and we have free Tuesdays, first Tuesday of every month. Give it a try, and we'll see you in the virtual world. Thanks.
Thank you.
Tim Cusick, welcome to the podcast. It's been a long time since I've seen you in person, but you've done a lot of great work for TrainingPeaks and continue to do amazing stuff with your base camp coaching. So thanks a lot for joining me.
Well, thanks so much for having me. Like we were just saying, this is such an exciting topic, and I'm excited to talk about it today.
Yeah. I mean, first I want to go back. When did you first start training indoors in the winter months? What was that like?
Wow. Well, you know what? It's kind of funny. Forever. I mean, the reality is we've had trainers, and I don't know, really back. I've always lived in the Northeast.
Yeah.
So dealing with winter has always been a struggle, and that's been a driver for indoor training. I go all the way back to my first magnetic trainer into I was around when CompuTrainer came to life, and I was one of the early CompuTrainer adapters, and then through that progression to where we stand today. So I would unfortunately say about 30 years, 25 years. It's been a long time.
I know, I'm about to say, I think I started training indoors in like 1984. And my parents forked out for a CompuTrainer. And remember, they had a heart rate that you would clip to your earlobe for
I do totally remember that. Yes.
Like new technology back then. But yeah, no, I was slaving away watching black and white and Lone Ranger stuff. No, not that far back, but watching the TV in the living room, slaving away on the CompuTrainer and rollers, riding rollers. So it's come a long ways. And it's funny because there's still, as you said, there's so much opportunity out there, both for coaches to create programming, but for athletes too, to discover new ways of leveraging, indoor training. Obviously year round, it's a thing now year round, but most, cyclists in the winter months, we're coming into the northern hemisphere winter months. It's when most, athletes are going to be taking advantage of the indoor training. And now that we have TrainingPeaks Virtual included in all premium members, it's pretty amazing how much it's advanced, and now coaches are starting to catch up. So I wanted to catch up on what you're offering at Basecamp. You have this new innovative winter programming package, and how long is it? And tell us a little more, a little bit of like the reasoning behind creating it in the first place.
Yeah, we've actually been doing it for a while, which is pretty interesting. So we did our first virtual group training program through the winter, and we do only do it through the winter because it works best when we're all in a semi-common training expectation. We usually are doing base or foundation training in there. We're very focused on aerobic capacity and some other elements, so it's easy enough to align a whole community behind a general focus. We still do fully customized plans in the process, but we actually, our first year was 2017.
Okay.
And then that was a small group test. And then in 2018, we went public. We've been running winter virtual group training programs since 2018. We probably have the largest one out there. I don't know if there's an official study, but we run a pretty robust and large one. The concept that we have really was meant, and maybe to answer your why first, it was, for me as a coach, it was really meant to solve a problem. I didn't see this as just another system or a different way to look at things. I saw it as a solution. As a longtime coach who's had the luxury of kind of coaching at a very high level, I've had literally the luxury of working with national and world champions, guiding athletes to the Olympics, Hall of Famers, everything else. I would see two things with working with that athlete. One, time was my ultimate resource. Like no matter what I did, I could never coach more than 4 or 5 professional athletes at a time because it just consumed time. And even as my skills grew and I got smarter, I accumulated knowledge and I had greater IP, I was still limited by time. So when I looked back at the coaching model that was existing in the world, I kept saying there's got to be a way to get better scale. And then the second problem was when you're working with an athlete at that level, you're writing training, right? You're like, here's what we're going to do on the bike, and here's how we're going to blend some other systems. But athletes at that level tend to have an expert strength trainer. They have a nutritionist on the team. They have a mental performance expert. They have a physio. So, they have this support network, which allows them to train at a level, obviously they have all the natural skill and everything else, but it gives them that holistic athlete approach, which allowed them to optimize. So in like 2016, 2017, as I was kind of limited by time, running around in the pro world, thinking, how do we bring this to the masses? How do we make it scale? And how do we get that same experience? We looked at technology as a solution. And I think whether you're an athlete or a coach right now, this is one of the more exciting times in our technology evolution as an endurance training world since the power meter came about. Because you have all these new technologies that have allowed us to do this. So what did we do? I wanted to solve the scale issue, and I wanted to bring in expert guidance at the entire holistic approach. But you couldn't do it easily in the one-on-one model because, an everyday athlete, looking to compete locally or compete at the state or the national level, they hire a coach. That's one expense. Then they try to go out and find a strength trainer maybe, or they're doing a strength program over here and nutrition over there. It wasn't cohesive, and it was very hard for the coach to manage it all. So we decided to lean into the technology of indoor training. Smart trainers began this empowerment, but not just because it made workouts easy to prescribe, execute, and track, but because it opened the door to a group of virtual training platforms through interactive experiences and ways to touch athletes that took some creative thinking, but actually get higher contact. So what Basecamp is a 16-week virtual group training program. Now, we say virtual because a lot of the experience is virtual. The community that we form in this virtual training is online. You could do it outdoors with the power meter. You can do it indoors on a regular trainer, hopefully on a smart trainer, only because it's easier. You don't need a specific virtual training program. There's all different ways that you can execute it. Now, obviously, to get the most out of it, you follow our system, but you can do that. And what we did is we said, how can we bring those 4 elements of holistic training, guided each by an expert? So the program in Basecamp features, I write training programs. All the training programs are customized to every athlete, their training schedule, their overall goals, their training maturity, how long they've been training and how advanced they are. So I write all of the training programs and I'm the training leader. Menachem Brody and Lori Thompson, 2 well-known strength trainers, they are our strength. They write strength training programs that go along with the training, on the bike training programs that we put in play, so that we have on the bike training interacting with strength training. Dr. Namrita Brook is the other head coach here at Basecamp. She is a PhD nutritionist. She writes our nutrition programs. We utilize Hexus Nutrition, which interacts with TrainingPeaks, which we'll get to all this connectivity, and designs your nutrition program. So now you have an on-the-bike training program, you have a strength program, you have a custom, totally personalized to you nutrition program that's reading that strength program, reading that on-the-bike training, and giving you proper nutrition. And finally, we have Carrie Jackson, who leads our mental performance team, talking about, better mental preparation, managing performance anxiety, all the great things that really are the edge. So our 16-week program, holistic approach, individual category leaders, but it's a full 360. You get on-the-bike training, strength training, nutrition, guidance, and truly a full-on nutrition plan and mental performance training. And we used all the different technologies. It all flows through TrainingPeaks, but we use this technology to make that scalable. So every athlete who joins gets the team of experts they got, and they receive everything I always saw a pro athlete receiving. Maybe not the physio. We haven't figured that one out yet. But they get all those elements and expert guidance. And what it does is it allows for the optimization of training through leveraging these technologies by putting it all together, by making it interactive and cohesive for the athlete.
Yeah, I mean, we've been seeing this at the highest levels, as you mentioned, with the Tour de France teams, they have a high performance staff, and every athlete is shared, up to 6 or more, coaches, if you will, but they're each have their specialty. And then they get together, every Monday. Like you can see a Tour de France performance team staff have the Monday morning meeting, and they go through, the roster and who needs our help, who's doing well, figuring out the rest, the next race roster, et cetera. But now you're bringing that to the masses. And that's what's really, really, really cool about this. And as you said, it's powered all through TrainingPeaks. The strength training programming, video, rep, set, weight is included, all obviously in the mobile app for the athlete when they go to the gym. Nutrition, Hexus, is syncing data both ways to TrainingPeaks, as well as returning workout of the day, calculating what should be consumed for tomorrow's workout, because it can see tomorrow's training as well. So that's really amazing stuff. But then something that you're bringing to this that the pros don't actually get is this virtual community. It's virtual kind of training community. So talk to us about like the power of that community, and how are you leveraging these group workouts? How often do you encourage people to show up to a group workout? Is it individualized even though they're riding with a group?
Yeah, great question. When we think about this as a whole, so let's boil it down to where it really matters, right? The workouts, what are you doing?
Yeah.
The training program is customized to you. It's not fully personalized, but it's customized. So we've developed a system of what we call fitness survey. So when you join the program, you go through a reasonably extensive fitness survey where you're answering a lot of questions about you, your goals, your objectives, your process goals, which are important. And also like how many years have you been training? What's been your last 3-year training volume? Our system, we've developed, like the way it works is we actually have 96 different plans. We run what's known as a pretty a robust macro that you complete the survey. It comes back with a recommended plan. We lean into the TrainingPeaks system, and a lot of coaches don't know TrainingPeaks has API and some other support for companies that know how to leverage that. We lean into that system, and then you get one of those 96 plans loaded for you. It will match your needs probably 95%. I'd love to say 100, maybe someday through, ongoing advancements in some AI and selection process, we can get there. But still, it is very customized to you, and it really supports the development it's driven by the development of a good base training, a good foundational kind of work. The way that then gets executed, and then the strength plan is overlaid on that. You've already said how Hexus reads that plan and gives you, your nutrition and fueling targets. Then the way it actually happens in the virtual community. We have a training section of that community, imagine two overlapping circles. One is the training section. That happens in virtual training programs. TrainingPeaks Virtual is an excellent example. During those 16 weeks, we have a combination of public and members only rides. So for example, Tuesday and Thursday, we do 5 workouts a day. So 10 workouts open to the public on those 2 days. For 16 straight weeks. The workouts are progressive. They exist within our member athletes training plans. They're the core workout that they'll have on that day, or potentially the only workout they'll have on the day. So people join up and then execute these workouts. Now, what we do that allows for such great scale and a high touch experience, all of our group workouts are coach led. And they're actually led by 2 coaches. So for example, and all of our coaches do it, including me. I train along with the community. I lead Tuesday and Thursday rides.
Nice job.
It motivates me. It keeps me honest too. So like I'll do, one of my athletes is Rebecca Rush. She is a ride leader with me. So Rebecca and I do one ride every Tuesday and Thursday together. We have a couple hundred athletes in each ride that jump in, plus a public experience. Public jumps in, and it's coached. Every workout, it's not scripted coached, like it's live. Like we are coaching, we're talking to you. We always, Rebecca coined this phrase, we teach like science and stoke. Yeah. So we start out with talking about why are we doing this workout? Like what are we looking to accomplish? What's the stimuli we're introducing? What is the response that we hope to get back? How, what are the key elements of the execution? But then we interact with the audience for the final 80, 90% once we've kind of given the overview. And it's Q&A, it's motivation, it's execution tips. Like, people are, I can't hit that cadence, or I'm struggling to do this, or I can't do that. So you're getting live coaching from a coach and typically a former professional athlete. So it's not just one coach talking at you, it's 2 coaches talking with you. And then the community it gets very interactive and fun. If people going through the program, they tend to, if you go to the 6 a.m. ride or the 10 a.m. ride or the noon ride, you tend to repeat them. Yeah. So they get to know each other, and it just becomes very socially engaging. It shocks people, actually, how socially engaging it is.
Well, you mentioned it's publicly available. So there's member only, and some of them are open to the public to come see for themselves and see if they want to join for the more the members only, like full access. Yes.
So we have our Basecamp community. We've always tried to do this in a way that everybody can afford. The 16 weeks is $499, $125 a month because we scale. So that community, but we cap that. Like it's only 500 people. We have a lot of other social, when I talk about the other circle, that keeps us busy. But we have tens of thousands of public followers who jump in these workouts and try to follow the series. Awesome. Because it gives you a quality Tuesday and Thursday. The workouts are progressive. Yeah. They're well planned and designed. They're interactive. The other part of it is all of our workouts, we use the current technology. Everything's connected to TrainingPeaks. If it matches your workout, we're doing a public workout or a private workout, you're executing your workout. That then obviously sends the information back to TrainingPeaks so it can be reviewed. All our workouts are done in banded or stay together mode. Right. So it's FTP based. We utilize the TrainingPeaks structured workout format to make everybody ride together, and the banding to make them ride together.
Well, explain the banding.
So the banding is, there's a setting in TrainingPeaks Virtual, I think in most of the online programs, where you can select to execute the effort you're doing, the workout or the group ride, in a stay together mode. So it basically holds everybody into a big blob. And that's literally what
and the coach is setting that. I mean, you are setting that on the back end. The athlete doesn't have to worry about that. You're just sending out the invitation to that group ride, and then it kind of takes care of itself.
Absolutely. So you just join, it executes. This way, it doesn't get overly competitive. We focus on quality execution and the learning and everything else. There's not some people up the front. There's not some people up the back. We're all riding together, and we're focusing on, execution, process goal execution. What are we here to do today? And let's do it well.
Give us an example of one of those workouts.
So normally in the winter, so obviously our winter, we have a fair amount of aerobic focus. We are working on the foundation. My coaching style is more pyramidal. So we'll typically start off our first cycle with a fair amount of classic zone 2, but we'll quickly move into tempo, sweet spot, what I would call intensive aerobic work.
Yeah.
We do bring in some high intensity. Too much time on the trainer all winter long, you can actually really lose some anaerobic style fitness. So we blend in intensity. We also, for the people that are executing all of the training indoor, we have some, it's a name we use, neuromuscular manipulation elements in our training, because too much time on the trainer, particularly if you're like always riding in erg mode and always sort of at the same pace, you lose some of the dynamic element that outdoor riding requires. And then like after the winter, you jump on the trainer and the first week you go outside and you're like, I can't make power. And, I'm so unfit.
Yeah.
That allows us to better prepare for that transition. So, the workouts will be like that. They're progressive typically in overall load. Most of that is through the management of time and zone. So we'll progress. There's this constant approach towards progression within the system. And that's just good fundamentals of training, I guess, the system. So even if you're just public and you're jumping in our Tuesday, Thursday rides, you're following the progression through the 16-week program.
Very cool. And you don't have races, but you mentioned you have challenges that kind of work more on skills development and not so much about, who did you beat, but more about learning, a skill along the way.
So how we do that, we have this huge community. And again, there's a whole social element. Like we literally have, and it's a hoot. We
Virtual
have happy
potlucks.
hours. Yeah, we do. We have happy hours with potluck. We have learning webinars.
Yeah.
We have get together, sessions where like we're talking about these things. So there's really this, and Dirk, everybody comes into the program and they're like, there's no way I thought it would be this social and motivating. Like I didn't think it could happen. Don't spread that around. Like originally I'm like, no way will it be as social as I think.
That's awesome.
But it works. And then the system supports that. So we have this expert training, we have all these individual things, but there's a progression that goes on underneath about performance learning. See, we see ourselves as a performance ecosystem, not training, not coaching. Like those are elements that help us get there, but we want to optimize you, the athlete, in this performance ecosystem. So you're getting those 4 key elements of training, but if you can't practice it under expert guidance, then you're kind of turned loose, right? And there you go, figure it out. So we have challenges that are process goal challenges that align with the training plan. So we take the 4 to 6 key elements, and it actually changes a little each year because we survey all the incoming audience. We understand the things that they understand about performance, where they see they need help and where they're strong, and we customize it each year to the community. So the challenge might start off with challenge 1 is an exercise in pacing and speed economy.
Yeah.
Challenge 2 might be maximizing your climbing capacities. So the challenge still is an event that has a fun competitive nature to it. But during the weeks leading in the training, we have a special focus on here's what we're teaching. You're going to bring that to life in the challenge. We have workouts that are and we align the challenge to fit within the 16-week program well. Like, hey, we're going to do a climbing challenge. So the workouts are supporting a little bit more of a flair for climbing. Right. In the workouts, we teach climbing execution. Should I sit? Should I stand? What should I maintain my cadence at? So the coaching not only is here's the workout execution, it culminates in each training cycle, 3 to 4 weeks in our system. Each training cycle ends in a challenge where you're training something from a physiological and performance aspect. We're teaching, educating, and coaching through these group workouts for you to improve that specific process. Then we go into the challenge and we execute it. Our challenges have hundreds and hundreds of people. We have 30 plus coaches in Basecamp. So most of our coaches and most of them, many of them have been former professional riders, so they understand the coaching and they understand the performance side so well. And then we execute together, still coaching this challenge where they're bringing together the fitness and the things they've learned about performance into that challenge. And it is non-competitive. Like we have prize packages through our sponsors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We randomly select 5 people who completed every challenge. It's not a winner.
Nice.
And look, there's nothing wrong with winning. We still are fun competitive. We just don't want to make that the nature of everything. It's learning to maximize. So if you're a professional rider, a Cat 1-2 racer, we got plenty of great pros. You can sit up front of that challenge and learn from them. If you're new to the sport and you're just figuring out, pacing and how to climb and switchbacks, we've got plenty of people to support you through that. So everybody wins. The challenge is finish the challenge, master the process, then move on.
Yeah. Unfortunately, too many people, with virtual training within the winter months race too much. And that just builds early plateau. You maximize your strengths too early before you even get outside in April, right? So it's good, and that's why we developed TrainingPeaks Virtual, is for the performance-oriented coach and athlete.
Absolutely. And TrainingPeaks Virtual. So, it's such an empowerment for things like what we're doing with these challenges, because again, you're like, well, you might say, well, how do you all teach a climbing challenge? And how are you dealing with people and teaching them how to go through switchbacks or how to sit and stand? Like, you'd be surprised. And this is not negative, right? This is where we need to understand the total audience. You'd be surprised how many people indoors we run into our system who don't know how to stand on a bike.
Yeah.
Like, you go back to those, but there's still plenty of people who, have thresholds in the 4.5, 5.0 range who are looking to optimize. So the process system we have that services both, but you need a platform where it's like, here's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Here's a mimic of that. And we need to slow it down so we can teach you, because you can't learn anything when you're going full speed and your heart's going 190 beats and you're inside out. So we slow it down in this process event so we can teach it. The platform allows us to do that.
Yeah. And also, like, we have new Georgetown, new courses, Georgetown Criterium course, which people really need to be taught how to corner, because they don't think that it can be replicated indoors. But yes, there is a racing line. In the real world, there is a racing line, and you can't pedal through that racing line. You need to coast. But guess what? When you come out of that corner, you need to throw down the power, and you might need to get out of the saddle. And then the next corner is like 3 seconds later, you're going to have to coast again. So that can be replicated, and you can slow it down. Maybe you have a pace line, working on this pace line concept, be at your coasting through the corners, and you're having to go to 0 watts and back up to 300 watts and back down to 0. And that's kind of revolutionary, to do that. So it's kind of fun to check out the new Georgetown area and the criterium courses that we have, and that cornering physics as well. And the drafting obviously is there within TrainingPeaks Virtual too.
And that's 2 perfect examples. So when we're doing our workouts leading into, because we end up doing, there is a race, there's actually a gravel, in our mentality, a kind of a gravel race and then a road race in the end. So we do teach pace lines. We have one of the cycle. We're trying to help people go speed economy, right? Yeah. How do you work in a pace line? How much power should you be putting out when you're up front? How do you So even though we're virtually doing it, you're still feeling the draft. You're understanding what it's like to go around the corner, right? And we're coaching it. Like, okay, so-and-so now, work like you're up front, and we'll write the structured workout. Imagine, and you've done this in your life like 1,000 times, so it's intuitive, but having a structured workout that works you from the back of the pit as you move a little more forward, then what power should you put on the front? Now you come off and go back around. We walk through that with the structured workout, but it's synced with our live coaching. Our coaches are in there saying, here's why. It's because, most people go to the front, they over put out power. They don't understand regulating by the effort versus, just drilling it. So we can coach that. Then we go into a challenge like a team time trial or a pacing event where they have to actually execute that to succeed. That only gets done in a platform that at least can give us a feeling of that.
I got to tell you too, you got to do a workout on the velodrome. It's so fun. Where you can imagine having your group staying together, but then it's something like, every 5 laps or something, like 2 designated people attack and go off the front, and they work together off the front to lap up, and then the next 2 people take off and they lap up, and the next 2 people. And that is just a fun workout to do virtually. And, you're keeping the group together, around the velodrome, but that's really, really fun stuff.
And we have that one coming up.
Nice.
That's going to be one of our challenges. It's funny you said that. We're like, wow, here's a new resource we can use next year. So I just leaked a little information about our next year program, but we're going to be utilizing that concept.
We've been leaking some stuff as well, so we can talk about GPX as well. So you'll be able to upload your unique GPX file and work on those switchbacks. Find a climb that's got really serious pitches, of 12% or whatever, where you got to get out of the saddle. And, I'm sure the perfect climb that you'd like to take people through. And that would be another skill to develop. So that is going to be out as well. So fun stuff there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting. And that's going to help not only our training and process orientation, but our social aspect as well.
Yeah. On the strength side, how often are you prescribing strength training per week?
Great question. So we utilize the new Strength Builder, which is fantastic, by the way, just to give that credit. It's so much easier to use. It's such a great program. You take your phone into the gym. It's so easy, because I have always been a strength trainer and I've used the older versions and older items. This is just great. It depends on how you survey and your desire.
Okay.
So we have 2 different programs. They're all periodized to run in conjunction with the 16-week training program. So we start out with the functional phase and we move forward into a strength phase. And just as base camp ends, you move into a maintenance phase so that you have something to carry you forward if you want to stay in that maintenance phase. So it is periodized to match the progression of the training plan. It is 2 or 3 days a week. Typically it's 3, but 2 of those days are, if we want to say strength workouts. The 3rd day is often a combination of mobility and recovery. So what we find in our programs, because our program is a solid winter foundation, you're training a fair amount of hours. It depends on what you select. You can be anywhere from 6 to 20 hours a week in our program. You could be less than 6 if you don't do the workouts, but you can be 6 to 20 hours. So the strength program flexes a little bit with that to make sure we're managing fatigue. We have a system then of education and management with our athletes where we're constantly looking at fitness and form and TS, if you want to think about that that way, to help them understand, maybe I need to back off a little. The strength can be tricky when we get into like that 3rd or 4th cycle, because if your training's progressing well and you're running out of time and you're doing a little more, sweet spot work, and you're maybe this is where the interaction with these experts, Menachem and Lori, are always available. They're always interacting through our social cues. If you're struggling and like, I'm having a hard time keeping up, they're there to help you, give you the advice what to do and how to manage it.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, that's a true differentiator here, is that it's not just a program that you go follow, because training is more than X's and O's. It's more than the numbers, and that mood, motivation, sleep quality, how you're feeling overall, that really oftentimes should just override maybe what's planned. And so having those consultations with the experts can give that athlete confidence to maybe back off when needed.
Couldn't agree more. And that's our other circle.
Yeah, right.
We use a social community approach, which has been the greatest discovery. It's super cool. I mean, it has been so great for me to, maybe as I've gotten a little older and slowing my career down, to be part of this and see this evolution of what's happening. So on the social community side, all our coaches are in there interacting. So if you have a question, if you're chatting in our community, we have some online community programs that everybody's crazy interactive in. I mean, it's amazing how robust it is. Literally, like we track comments and things like that in our social community. And last year we had over 200,000 comments.
Wow.
So it's a lot of chat.
Whoa.
It's great. It's crazy. But that's because our coaches are in there full time. So if you have a question, you post that and I respond every day. Namrita's in there. Manakam's in there. Our whole team is in there. Kay Jackson's plus all of our coaches.
Yeah.
So you get answers to your questions immediately. You get a robust view. It's not just my opinion. You'll see some other experts. You'll have some other experienced riders. So it kind of raises the knowledge base, because what happens so much when you form that training community, we all think as an athlete, like our problems are our problem. Like I'm the only one who struggles with motivation today, or I can't do that one workout, or I'm too nervous to go and join an event. But as soon as you see that come up in a community and everybody's like, wow, that's me too, the door's open. We realize we're not really alone. Like all of us have these anxieties or struggles and successes within training. And then we learn, we're reinvigorated or invigorated by that community. And it's like, wow, this is okay. And then here's how I can overcome that or do what I want to do or optimize what I'm working on. It is, we literally call it like the spiral up, because it's very viral in that way. And it's very engaging in the sense of the individual athlete growing. And I don't mean just like, wow, there's like some big challenge to grow, but I mean, wow, I have more knowledge, because it's not just a coach. It's not just me talking to them. It's not just preaching. It's interaction.
Somebody else has the same issue that you're going through as well, and you might be able to find them, connect with them, and see how they're solving that issue, and then the coach can come in and give some more advice. So, and speaking of advice, any advice for coaches that are thinking of like kickstarting their own programming? How hard was it at the beginning? Like any advice for coaches to kind of get things going on their side?
Yeah, you have to think community first, because this takes change. Like it really does. I think the luxury that I had when I started was I really wanted to change something, meaning it wasn't like I was looking to optimize one-on-one coaching, because I honestly believed, because that's time capped, right? Every coach listening to me right now, you might have different levels of IP, but if you're just one-on-one coaching, you're selling time, and you're only going to have so much you can sell, because there's only so much time. It's not infinite. When we looked at changing it, we didn't say, how do we connect all these dots? We said we have to find scale through community. And we also saw the need. We're seeing this in our live camps. So there might be coaches going through the same experience. People would show up for live camps. There was a tentativeness to get to know each other, what group am I in? Am I going to be fast enough? Or everybody's going to drop me or whatever. And it would take like to the last day of camp till they started sharing that and getting okay and were comfortable. So we said, how do we use all this great technology to replicate that first? So lead with community. You have excellent tools out there for building community. There's social presence. There's community programs. There's programs that you can use. You could use Facebook and start on Facebook if you want to keep it simple. All these things are simple. A Facebook group can be a vibrant community. The second thing then you need at the community, think about what it takes for you to engage them in the process. So for me, in the Basecamp program, the most kind of heartwarming experience seeing all this growth is what really happens is the athlete comes into this community and they motivate. They engage and motivate. Those things go together, and they actually are more self-accountable. So I've been writing training plans for 20 plus years, and I could write the world's greatest training program, but if the athlete doesn't do it, it's irrelevant. What we all really need out of our athletes as coaches is we need them to be very consistent. That's the foundation, as you know, of all good training. If you don't consistently train, you're only going to have a small amount of growth. Then we need to build some great training rhythm and progression on top of that, but we need consistency. Me as a coach, I can't motivate athletes. And it's always kind of funny when I say that. People are like, what do you mean? That's your job. But there's nothing I can really say in the end of the day that's going to get you off the couch to do the workout, right? But what my job is is to put every athlete, find their motivation environment where their self-motivation comes to life, where it energizes themselves. If I do that, I'll be a good coach. Like if I can find your environment to motivate. So when you think about this community aspect, if you can form community first and make it engaging, you will be shocked at the level it will improve consistency, because suddenly your athletes are more motivated. They're doing the workout. So maybe in a base camp program, everybody's doing their workout. Maybe, you might have athletes doing 90% of their workouts, or 80 for some and 99 for others. We have a very high completion workout over there because they're self-motivated to do it. The community is holding. Like I know I always show up for the 5:45 ride and there's 200 other community members with me. They'll miss me and I'll feel bad, if I don't show up. So self-motivation and self-accountability rises in community. And then the final step, just connect the dots with technology. That's actually the easy part. Like when we started doing it, the dots connections weren't there. And everybody kept saying, our whole coaching company, I laid this out and all of our coaches went, great idea. You're crazy. It'll never work. And I'm like, no, we'll make it work. And they're like, well, how are you going to do this, this, and this? And I'm like, I don't know yet, but we're going to make it work.
That's awesome.
But you got, cool. TrainingPeaks brought it to life. You made like what gives it to us now. So thank you for this. We use TrainingPeaks as the hub. Strength builder interacts with the training. We can see overall training load. We can see training impact through that. Hexis reads TrainingPeaks. It talks through the API. It reads the actual scheduled workout. It gives the athlete individual nutrition targets and goals and what they should be consuming. Right? We have our strength training, nutrition, even our performance. Mental performance, we actually flow through TrainingPeaks through a combination of notes, links. We actually run mental performance boot camps in there. That's all in people's accounts.
Wow.
So it actually all flows in one very interactive. Then we teach everybody. Here's what that PMC is showing you. Here's what you're looking for in every workout. So they become, I finally understand this. I'm more motivated today. That's what the PMC, the performance management chart, is doing for me. Now I understand. I want that blue line going up, but maybe not always. They get to that nuance and they self-motivate. That's what, that's my advice. That's what drives it.
Yeah, well, the holistic athlete is also a big secret. It isn't just riding your bike, but the biggest breakthrough may be because you're the way you view things through, your mindset, or the nutrition aspect, or you keep getting injured. And so that strength training program really helped you prevent injuries. So awesome. I'm getting excited for winter training here. I got to jump on that velodrome workout and give that a try, or the crit course. That's going to be some fun stuff. Looking forward to it. Thanks, Tim. Great. Thanks for sharing all your wisdom, and good luck with the programming and to all your athletes this winter.
Well, thanks for having me, and we'll see you this winter.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Dirk.
Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on your platform of choice to never miss new episodes. Also, be sure to leave a 5-star rating to let your coach and the algorithm know you're ready to dial in your training. Find more resources to help you take on your next challenge at trainingpeaks.com, or find us on social media at TrainingPeaks. Got questions? Leave a comment or send an email to podcast@trainingpeaks.com.